Hi everybody! Today I'm here to bring you my May wrap-up. Let's talk about the selection series and The Crown. In particular, it's the 5th book in the selection series. It focuses on Eileen Shreve and her selection and her struggle as a queen to be. You shouldn't be fooled by the dystopian category they put on it on Goodreads, because it is not a dystopian read. So the biggest problem was the plot, or the lack of it. Eileen had like a 180 degrees change in character. It was very unrealistic for me, and the happy ending wasn't really authentic because the scenes, they came out of nowhere and everybody was happy in the ending. I was like, seriously? The only thing Kiera Cass does right, I think, is that her books are hard to put down because they're entertaining, clearly moneymaker books, and that's why I gave them 2 out of 5 stars. So this book is a heart-wrenching love story about a girl called Violet Markey who learns to live from a boy who is called Theodore Finch, who intends to die. So before I start to talk about this book, let me tell you that the events in the book are inspired by the author's real-life experience, and that the book focuses on not any depression, but it focuses on the bipolar disorder. It's a very serious form of depression. So it really bugs me that people are calling this an unrealistic story and a mockery of mental illness. The author went through this in a similar way, and it happened. I'm so furious after reading the ratings. But anyway, I think this story is sad but beautiful and very honest, and I think All the Bright Places takes you to all the good places and all the bad places and everything in between. So I still recommend this book to anyone, even though it can be a very tough read, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars because I think it's beautiful and important to read something about depression, because it's still sad that most of the society doesn't see depression as real, because you don't see the problem. That's why it isn't a problem. I don't know, it's just, it's sad. So The Revenant Dawn follows the story of Shahzad, who is on this quest to avenge her dead best friend Shiva, who was killed by Khalid. He's the Caliph of Khorasan. Each night he takes a new bride just to execute her by morning. Not cool. This book had me on the edge of my seat the whole time because I could not figure out why Khalid kills all those brides. The writing is super lovely. I could imagine all my surroundings while reading it, and I loved it. And the characters are very, very lovely, and I think every single character brings something to the story, and that is great. Yeah, I like that. The only thing why I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars is because something bugged me with the relationship thing. I still recommend this book because I think it's beautiful. I also read all the short stories. There are 3 short stories. I don't think they're spectacular, but I appreciate all the extra information. So I don't get why Landline has such a general low rating, because it's about Georgie McCool, the coolest name ever. So her career is about to take off, but her marriage with her high school sweetheart is on the rocks, and she nearly has no time for her kids. So if you think the plot and the characters are boring, then I think you should need to take a step back and reconsider, because maybe you need to get out of this like fairy tale love bubble that our society has created and take a look at Georgie and Neil's relationship. Rainbow Rowell takes this young first love relationship and puts it through all the things a relationship has to face, and she does it so beautifully. So the plot isn't boring, it's realistic, it's life, and it's what everybody needs to face in a certain degree. So I take my hat off to Rainbow Rowell and for her abilities to write lovely stories that focus on real problems. Murder on the Orient Express is about this murder that happens on the Orient Express, and our detective Hercule Poirot and we, the reader, we need to figure out if it's one of the passengers or one of the staff or somebody else. So this book was the buddy read with Josh from Scribbles Reads, and I have to say this time we picked a real winner. Can't believe that it took me so long to pick it up. It's such a classic novel when it comes to like crime stories, and Agatha Christie does such an amazing job. It's a thrilling story. It's pretty amazing to go through every suspect chapter to chapter. It was a great book to start off my Agatha Christie journey, and I can't wait to read more of her work. So Obsidian is about this girl called Katie, and she moves from California to a small town in West Virginia, and then she meets her neighbor, her hot neighbor Demon Black, and his sister Dee, and she finds out that there are aliens. So I finished this audiobook on one drive home from my boyfriend because he lives far, far away, and I had a lot of time. Fits with my guilty pleasure read. I would recommend it to everybody who loves like sci-fi, romance novels, and read for the pure fun of it, because it's not a masterpiece, but it's sure entertaining. We're in the year of 2044 and the world is an ugly place. We wrecked the climate, everything is bad, and like most of humanity, our main protagonist, Wade Watts, loves to spend his hours in this utopia game called Oasis. Because the founder of the Oasis, James Halliday, he put a little Easter egg in the game. So all his fortune and the control of the Oasis goes to the person who finds the Easter egg. So Ready Player One is the ultimate dream of every nerd and geek and game lover out there. The writing is superb, the world building is phenomenal, and the characters are very lovely, and the whole story is just fantastic. But I'm a little bit biased because I'm such a nerd and geek and game lover myself, so yeah. But if you're not really into 80s, 90s culture, and if you don't have a thing for like geeky stuff and nerd wisdom, then I think you may have a hard time with this book. The only reason why I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars is because I think the middle part was a little bit drawn out, and I think you could have shortened it a little bit, but still I highly recommend this book because it's perfect. Last but not least, I read Truthwitch with Daniela from Pixie Tonic. Truthwitch is about Sophie and Isolde. There are two best friends who are constantly running away from bad people. So Susann Dennard writes nice, but she forgets that we don't know everything she knows about the story that she writes. So I had such a hard time understanding what was going on. There were so many characters introduced and we get to know nobody really in depth. Sophie and Isolde are most of the time separated, or one of them is unconscious. And I think it would have helped the story a lot if we could like witness their friendship in a slower environment and get to know them and get to know their bond and really care about them. I do think it will get better, and that's why I'm gonna read the second book. So that's it for my May wrap up. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then give it a thumbs up or leave a comment down below or subscribe if you want. And I will talk to you very soon. So bye!